Ran home, took a nap, took a shower, and back in the road again. Y'all okay?
Yes, sir.
Couple, I know Andre, you had called, we're running a little bit behind, and someone else called. Said it'd be about 2:15 before they got here. Might have been 7. They're not here.
Oh, yeah, WBJ is not there. Yeah, so that might be that.
Okay, it might have been those. Y'all get just a couple minutes to get those guys. Yeah.
Good.
Sheriff, you mind stepping behind the podium so you can just get a shot, make sure everything's good?
Thanks for doing this.
Thank y'all for being here, and thank y'all, the ones that may have been out last night. I know Andre was there. I know Jamon was there.
I'm sure you've gotten a lot of sleep. You were out there late.
Yeah, it happens.
As they say, duty.
But you know, I find it funny. Used to, back when the 80s and the 90s, I could just go all night long, come home, shower, get up. It don't work that. For some reason, it just don't work that way now.
Father time is undefeated.
It is that. That is for sure. No doubt. It makes us feel it. I'll go on and give you all these, looking over them.
Printed out for us. I think it's so helpful.
Y'all,
I was Alexia, so you can say that.
hey, that's all right. Are you the one that called and said, can we wait? Seven? Seven? You go ahead, take your time, get set up. Did I give you one out there? Take your time, take your time. Let me know when you need a test to make sure your volume is okay. Says one.
Sheriff, while we're waiting, what's this I'm hearing about Amherst Sheriff's Department
question that.
I just ran across the street and got me something. I said, Lord have mercy. Maybe one day we'll have a little feast up here.
Had a bourbon barbecue, burger bourbon place across the street, or the street was pretty good. Bonfire?
Bonfire. Yeah, my wife and I, we eat there for dinner quite often. I've not eaten there for lunch at all. I just haven't done it. Test 1 2, test 1 2. Are you good? Okay. Everybody good? All right, folks. First, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. Those that were out last night, standing by to get the news out. I appreciate you all, and as always, I appreciate what you all do. You all are an intricate part of what we do from time to time. I've heard law enforcement say, you know, the media's worrisome, the media's this, the media's that. I understand you all have a job to do, and when you all do your job, and a lot of times it helps us in many ways, clearing cases, solving crimes, or whatever it may be. I do truly appreciate you all being out all hours of the day and night, getting the news and getting it out to the community, to whatever it is, safeguarding the community if it's something going on in particular areas. So I truly appreciate what you all do each and every day. Before I get started in this, you know, we as law enforcement officers go about our way every day. You never know from one second to the next what you'll encounter. And last night was one of those nights that when it's all said, done, and over with, I myself count my blessings because of these three, in particular the three young men that responded there, as you all have read in regards to we got a call to do a welfare check on an individual that hadn't been seen for several days. And when you respond to a call like that, we do many of them, believe me, throughout a week, throughout a month, throughout a year, you do many times. You get calls to go to different places to check on folks that may not have been seen or heard from. This particular situation, and the officers totally, routine should not be a part of anything we do as law enforcement, but you know, you kind of put it in the same groove that you do every other call you go on to, just to check the welfare to make sure someone's all right. And as they approached this residence, all of a sudden they started hearing gunfire and trying to determine where is it coming from, and then it was close enough that they were hearing the projectiles go by their head, and they realized very quickly this is at us, but they didn't know at the time where it was coming from. Of course, their flashlights were illuminated immediately. Once they got their wits about them, they extinguished the flashlights, and the gunshots dissipated. And so then they started taking cover and walking in the darkness, trying to figure out where you're going. They would illuminate them from time to time, and every time one of them did, then the gunfire would immediately start back again. So once they were able to get cover and get other help coming to them, it was just a true blessing that none of the three of these guys were hurt last night, because it could have happened very, very easily. But as I say, the good Lord was truly on their side and provided that hedge of protection they needed at the time they needed that. And I'm just so thankful for them. And then too, when it was a particular situation going into this house, the doors on it had been fortified so that we couldn't make entry and through the doors there. So we had to back up and regroup and make decisions how to get entry to this particular structure, and we had to access through windows. And then finally, we used drones and devices we could to see as much as we could, but ultimately we had to put boots on the ground and go inside of the structure. And there was one individual in there, obviously deceased, but the second individual had concealed themselves and pretty well, and that could have been a bad situation as well with how that went down. So at the end of the night or morning, this morning, I felt blessed, and I do today, that we came out of this with no one hurt or no one injured. And it all started yesterday on the 19th at approximately 7:30. We received a call to go to 140 Overlook Drive to do the welfare check on the resident that lived there. He hadn't been seen in several days. Shortly after arriving on the scene, the deputies advised that an unknown individual was shooting at them. At this time, the deputies requested additional units to respond to their location. Due to the nature of the incident, the sheriff's office requested assistance from Virginia State Police, Lynchburg Police Department, Tactical Unit, the Lynchburg Police Department Crisis Negotiation Team, and the Amherst County Department of Public Safety. After numerous attempts to contact the individual inside, the LPD tactical team made entry into the residence, and upon entry, law enforcement found a deceased male identified as Brian Matthew Lingsering, 58, of Evington, Virginia, and also located there was Thomas Erickson, 69, who resided at that residence. Erickson was taken into custody without incident and is being held at Amherst Blue Ridge Adult Detention Center with no bond. Erickson has been charged with 3 counts of attempted aggravated murder of a law enforcement officer. Again, I would like to thank my men and women, the Amherst County Department of Public Safety, Virginia Department of State Police, Virginia State Police Aviation, Lynchburg Police Department, their tactical unit, their crisis negotiation unit, and their drone team was quite an asset to us last night, using that equipment to monitor the situation and give us information that we needed from overhead. It was definitely a joint effort that made this come to fruition and no one getting hurt. This investigation is still ongoing. Additional charges are pending. As always, we offer that if anyone in the public may have additional information to this incident, please contact Captain Clay Thompson with Investigations Division here at 946-9381. The Crime Stoppers at 1-888-798-5900. And you can leave an anonymous tip online there. And also there's a website that I have noted on you all's paper document today. If you all have the ability to post that people can go online and give a tip anonymously, and also there are cash rewards for such. So at this time, that's pretty much what I have to give you all as what happened. As I said, it's obviously an ongoing investigation. We've had an officer at the medical examiner's office today, and as far as I know, he is still there. And you know, we'll get findings from the medical examiner, and from that we will likely obtain additional charges. So this time I'll address any questions that anyone may have.
Did Thomas kill Brian?
I'm sorry?
Did Thomas Erickson kill Brian?
Did he?
Kill Brian, as far as you know?
We can't say that is definitive at this time. And he is truly definitely a person of interest.
I mentioned multiple shots, but like, can you say estimate of like maybe how many or like what gun did Thomas use?
We don't know. That too will be defined from the medical examiner's office after they do their examinations today, as to give, you know, a lot of things we get right today or the next day or so are very preliminary, because, you know, autopsies and after-death investigations take extensive periods of time, especially lately. The lab is so behind, but that will give us more definitive indicators as to what weapon was used.
Did the deputies ever return fire?
No, ma'am, did not.
So we don't know how many shots were fired from the...
There were several shots. We actually had a resident that lived in close proximity call this morning, and they realized that the windshield in their car had been struck. So, you know, definitely projectiles were, you know, pretty prevalent in the air in close proximity to that residence. But exactly how many, the officers can't say how many they heard. Obviously, once they realized that it was directed toward them, they were trying to find cover in the darkness and make sure they were shielded the best they could. But how many at this time, we can't say.
When you were going for the welfare check, were you looking for the deceased or the suspect?
When we,
When you were going to do the welfare check, were you looking for the deceased or the other man, Erickson, was in the house?
Erickson was the individual that resided there. Yes.
Do you believe the victim, Brian, was murdered, or do you believe it's a self-inflicted gunshot wound, or however he died?
Indications right now, it was not self-inflicted.
Why was the other man at that residence?
Apparently, they were friends of they had been acquaintances for a while. How long, we don't know. But there was an acquaintance, and several folks said that this fellow, stayed there from time to time. So that's all we know.
Can you say where he was shot?
I cannot, because last night I left and came up here with the officers, and I did not go into the crime scene at all, and I have not. When I got here this morning, the guys that were there, and the state police actually worked the crime scene. They did all of that. Our guys were here doing interviews and what they needed to do here. So I don't know exactly where.
Sheriff, I had to step away and check the feed for a second. I don't know if you addressed this, but did Erickson have history with Amherst County Sheriff's Office? Any record that you know of?
Nothing comes to mind, and it hadn't been pointed out.
Did either of them have run-ins with the law?
With us, I do not think there was anything at all with us as far as any criminal history.
Can you address how you made entry?
Through a window. Yep.
And just to clarify, it was originally a wellness check, and then shots were, then the shots.
That is correct. A neighbor called and said they had not seen the resident for several days. So officers responded, and as they were approaching the resident, they heard gunfire. And it took them a couple seconds to realize where it was coming from or if it was even. And then one of them said, he heard the projectile go by him, and he said, it's at us, and to take cover. So that was their next response, is they extinguished the flashlights and were trying to scramble to get cover.
That kind of brings up a great question we have. Do you know if the gunfire was at police or if the gunfire was when the person was shot?
It was at police.
Do you
Sure.
believe the victim
Go
died
ahead.
that day, or had he been deceased for more time?
The ME will give us more definitive, but it appeared it had been a while.
Sheriff, with shots being previously fired, it had to be a tough decision to go in. Yeah.
Absolutely. Anytime that, once you determine that all indicators that the shots were coming at the officers as they were approaching this residence, it makes the situation quite sticky to go in it. And then when the officers go to make entry and they realize that the doors had been fortified so they couldn't get through the doors, then that even makes it more intense to try to figure out how to get in it to see what's what inside. So then you look at other areas to breach and to make entry, and that's when the window was used to make entry. So that's a tough situation when you're going into a building. Obviously, that shots have been, all indications were fired from inside out toward the officers, and you have to go in there. It's it's tough.
Did he say anything?
No, sir, there had been no verbal there had been no verbal contact at all. None.
Was Erickson struck by any gunfire?
No, ma'am.
And just to confirm, the welfare check was for the victim, Brian?
No, the welfare check was for Erickson. He was a resident that lived there. We had no knowledge of Brian being there. No one had given us any indicator that there may be the second person there. Once the second person was located in there, some folks said that, this guy, came by and stayed from time to time. So, and they were acquaintances. So, that's when we discovered that there was a second person there.
You mentioned that it was
It means it was made where it could not be opened. Originally, when the attack team went to make entry the first time, they weren't able to do so and had to withdraw, which is sometimes not uncommon. If individuals don't want to be apprehended, they will fortify a door, put washers, dryers, refrigerators, whatever it may be in front of them. They will put fasteners around and screw them shut. They will do whatever to prevent them from being open or make it very difficult for them to be opened.
We heard that there might have been like booby traps, some type of traps inside of that. Is that true? Was there any type of traps?
There were some mechanisms around one of the doors, and I'll be honest with you, I today have not looked. What we were seeing last night was through footage from a drone that we were able to deploy inside to look inside, and you know, it was definitely some, as I said, fortification to the door with some items that gave us some concern. And I have not talked to any of the guys today about that, but it was truly the doors were fortified so that it would be difficult to get through them.
Like you kind of mentioned there is some type of, not traps, but what would you say? Was it like traps or?
I can't. It was items that were around the door.
Items around the door. Knowing, that someone put items like this around the door, for your officers, they're putting their lives on the line every single day, and that is their job. But what are your thoughts about someone doing something like that?
It's unfortunate to say that's part of our business. You have to be prepared for anything at any time. And, the safety and welfare of these men and women, when they go to do the job they do, it's tough. It is tough. Next year will be 40 years that I've been, and I've seen a lot. And that's why it breaks my heart when law enforcement catches the ridicule they catch for the job that they do day in, day out. And I have no problem in saying those that ridicule them for what they do, they need to put a uniform on and go out and do it themselves. And I would ask, after a few days of what they do, ask them if they have the same thoughts and feelings about it. It's a tough job. You never know, ever know what's on the other side of that wall that everyone has run away from. But I have got to figure out how to get over or get around it, regardless of what may happen on the other side. That was a very prime example last night. These officers went there, gunfire came at them. They secured and watched the residents that got help there, and then the team that went together and had to go in there. You never know what your odds are going to be. You never know. As much protective equipment you can have on, there is also that little inch of flesh that's exposed for our sight, our ability to breathe, to do whatever, that a projectile could take you out any second. So it's tough, and then we just have to be as prepared as we can be and as strong in our faith as we can be.
Can you speak to just how lucky you feel that all of your officers made it out there safe?
Absolutely. On my way home last night or this morning, I was blessed because all of them were going home. I get here this morning. The ones that we left behind last night, they had gone home. That was the best part of the day, that at the end of this event, everybody was okay and accounted for.
Can you talk about the efforts to protect the residents? It's a somewhat residential area. There are children there.
Yes.
How you're feeling knowing
There were several residences that we vacated. There were a couple of residences folks did not want to leave, and they hunkered in place. In other words, we just said, if you're going to stay here, you've got to stay inside. And they did that, and we had enough presence there and around there to, if we felt the scene was going to get worse or we had found something outside that could have hurt, we would have then forcefully removed folks if we'd have thought they'd have been in jeopardy. But those that wanted to stay in place, as long as they stayed inside, we let them do that. But several folks wanted to leave.
Sheriff, you sent officers to Lynchburg. Of course, Lynchburg came over to assist
Yes, sir.
last night. Of course, also the Virginia State Police. Talk about that collaborative effort. You guys are on the same team?
Yes, absolutely. We're very blessed in Central Virginia as far as the collaboration of law enforcement when there's a need, whether it's Amherst County, Lynchburg, Campbell, Appomattox, Sheriff of Mathematics was calling me last night. You know, others were texting me, Jimmy, whatever you need, let us know. We are blessed in this area to have that ability to call on one another. And last night, the state was there. They had the pilot. They had their helicopter. They had, you know, boots on the ground with us. Lynchburg was there. Had, you know, the TAC team, and it was basically, it worked as a model last night as far as smooth as difficult a situation as it was. It couldn't have gone any more professional, smooth, and it's just a great working relationship that we have in Central Virginia, and we're blessed because it's not found in a lot of other places.
Is there anything you can tell us about Erickson, the man you guys were checking on?
I don't know him, and as I said, you know, he really had no exposure with us as far as, you know, any problems, and I don't know anything about it.
How do you believe the victim died or was killed? Were guns involved, shot?
There were firearms located at the residence, but again, until the cause of death is determined by the ME, I don't want to elaborate on what my thoughts may be.
Was it related to any other cases, like any carjacking cases?
No, ma'am.
Related?
It's totally isolated.
Okay, thank you.
Could you pronounce Brian's last name one more time, Sheriff?
The way I pronounced it last night is Linsering. Whether that's correct or not, Andre, I don't know, but that's how Linsering is how I pronounced it. Yes.
Anything we missed, Sheriff? Anything else you want to say to the community?
Just, you know, the community was great last night. You know, people reaching out, texting me, be careful. And I think probably you all know, monitored Facebook. I think his SET was putting, you know, people were commenting and supporting. So we live in a great community. Thank you all again for what y'all do. Thank y'all. Y'all run into any questions or whatever, give us a call, and as soon as anything updates on this, I will let you all know. I don't anticipate anything to probably the first part of the week after we get findings back from, preliminary findings back from the ME's office.
On my feed last night, a couple people were commenting. They said if anyone could get to the bottom of this, it would be Sheriff Jimmy Ayers.
Andre, I've been around a long time, and I've worked with a bunch of fine men and women, I can tell you that, and that don't mind digging.
Pretty good callback.
Yep. Thank you all again. Y'all be safe, and hope we don't have to meet like this again for a long time.
We just got to figure out that lunch deal.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Sheriff Ayers, I'm Ryan with the music.
Hi,
Rarely
Ryan.
see Justin.
I do.